From the 22 News Plus studio, this is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of InFocus. I am your host, Patrick Berry. I am joined today by Solomon Baymon. He is the director of ROCA Western Massachusetts. So I'm very excited to have him with us today. Solomon, thanks for joining me. I greatly appreciate your time.
Patrick, thank you for having me.
So I want to start off initially with what is ROCA, and is this a Springfield thing, Western Mass thing, a national movement? Talk to me about it.
So ROCA's on its 37th year, actually. It originated out in Chelsea, Mass, with our CEO and founder, Molly Baldwin. ROCA is a nonprofit organization that works with high-risk youth ages 16 to 24, young men and young women. And just recently, we actually dropped the age a little bit younger to where we're working with young people ages 14, as young as ages 14.
So where did this come about? What was the driving force with creating this organization to target those at-risk kids?
So Molly just wanted to help out. She wanted change. She wanted to be a support system for those young people in need in that town of Chelsea at the time, which later expanded now to Boston, Springfield, Lynn, Mass, also Hartford, Connecticut,
Okay.
and also Baltimore, Maryland. So
Interesting. Okay.
it grew pretty fast. We're serving about 1,500 young people across the organization. So we have a lot going on. But originally, ROCA stood for reaching out to Chelsea adolescents.
Okay.
But now it doesn't stand for anything. It grew so big. It's just ROCA now, or rock in Spanish.
Yeah, that's funny. So and the organization really looks at those kids in certain living environments that might be most at risk, whether it's a family history of incarceration or being at risk, and kind of getting them off that path.
Right. So what I've learned, stability looks different for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So our young people are in the center of urban violence. Like you said, generations of just different troubles happening throughout their families, whether it be substance abuse, violence, homelessness, and things of that nature. So we're a behavior change program. We use cognitive behavioral therapy to get our young people to take that 8 to 10 second pause and get from their survival brain, which is their bottom brain, to their thinking brain, which is their top brain, and before they make a rational decision that can change their lives forever.
So how do you go about that? So do the kids find you? Are you proactive in our schools, in our neighborhoods? How does that meeting come together?
So it's a multi-pronged approach. We get referrals from everywhere. Our youth typically do not come walking through the door. Our youth has been kicked out of every other traditional program, dropped out of school, heavily involved in criminal justice system. So, for example, we may get a referral from DCF or local police department, and we're doing a door knock within 24 hours, going to find that youth. And from there, our outreach specialist is building a relationship with that young person because they're in pre-contemplation at that time.
Right.
Who's this individual coming to see me? Can I trust this individual? This, that, and the third. And then from there, we're encouraging them to come to the building, meet the rest of the staff, and just starting that enrollment process.
So to your point, I have to imagine, these kids, they don't trust you. They don't know you or your coworkers. So it's building that trust
Mhm.
from moment one, letting them know that you're not there to hurt them, to
Right.
cause them problems. You're there to help them and get them on the right path.
For us, it's all about transformational relationships. We can't do the work without it. They have to trust what we're saying. We like to say we provide a safe space, and we have to do so. So with so many different youth coming through the door from different neighborhoods, from different paths, we have to make sure our staff is doing what we say we do, which is providing that safe space and showing up for the youth overall.
So how did you get involved?
I got involved through the EACH program, which is Emerging Adult Court of Hope. It's a District Attorney Galuni's program, great initiative where they partner with us at ROCA, Springfield District Trial Court,
Mm-hmm.
and also an amazing judge, Judge Malpe. And this particular initiative, I was brought in to help with the fitness side, the confidence side, to
Right.
help the guys develop and in the gym and help build the character up. And
So where were you working when you were brought in? Were you a corrections officer or?
yeah, I was actually working as a correctional deputy warden in the
Okay.
state of Connecticut, and on the side, I trained local
Okay.
athletes for years. And I started just training the guys, building tighter relationships with them, helping them develop, and then the opportunity presented itself for me to possibly come over to ROCA. So I left it in the hands of three young people that were involved in each, and of course, they said, to make that jump over. And I did. As crazy as it sounded, I left everything on the table
Wow.
with a few years left and came over to ROCA. Since then, one of the young men was murdered. Another one of the young men was arrested for murder, unrelated. And
And these are the guys who convinced you to make the move,
absolutely.
right? And that subsequently, that's what's happened to them,
Yeah. And that's what makes it more personal
right?
for me. I saw a lot of young people over the years incarcerated for a multitude of different reasons. But by the time they got to me, I only saw that, they were convicted and this, that, and the third. But ROCA opened my eyes, and it was actually a reminder also to the lead up of it, um, the homelessness, the substance abuse, the things that lead up to the crime. And it's helping me, giving me the opportunity and my team the opportunity to help disrupt that.
Wow. Well, you guys are doing great work. We need to take our first break. We will be right back after this.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry. This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
We are back in the 22 News Plus studios with today's edition of In Focus. I am joined by Solomon Baymon. He is the director of ROCA Western Massachusetts to talk and learn a little bit more about that organization. Solomon, thank you so very much for joining me. When we before we went to break, we learned a little bit about your transition from the world of working on the jail side of it, as a deputy to kind of you're now the head of ROCA Western Massachusetts. How long, number one, how long have you been doing that for? And how challenging has that switch been?
So I've been at ROCA now for 4 years. Um, and it's been an interesting journey. But I will say, with all the challenges, the community coming together, supporting us, have been absolutely amazing. Um, we have a lot of resources within ROCA, but it's the resources from outside ROCA that make this all work. Relationships with systems partners and the mayor and different people throughout the city, Senator Gomez, and just a variety of different people that come together and support the mission. But it does have its challenges daily.
Is this one of those where the phrase "it truly takes a village to move things forward" really means a lot with ROCA?
Absolutely, absolutely. Our partnerships throughout our communities, Springfield, Chicopee, Holyoke, um, we couldn't do it without. We just had an appreciation day actually on Friday, where it was just a thank you to all of our partners because we couldn't do this work without them.
Right.
Definitely takes the village.
We see on the screen there, MGM donated $30,000 to the organization. That that in and of itself has to help tremendously. But what are some of those funds going towards to help the kids in our community who are at risk?
Our workforce readiness program, we call it TEP, which is transitional employment. We deploy at least 20 youth out in the community, Springfield, Chicopee, and Holyoke, and they work with either Park and Recs, DPW, and they work on their hard and soft skills, and they receive a minimum wage stipend biweekly. And what that does for a young person or anyone who's a returning citizen, um, it helps them to become more financially stable as well as prepare them for outside employment. So after about um, 80 days, 80 to 90 days, we then see if their workforce ready, prepare them, help them with their resumes, and help them get placed with one of our partners.
What are the kids doing over those 80 days? Give me like a rundown of all the things that they're expected to accomplish.
So the first thing is showing up on time, right? So
Right.
they're having to show up each day for 7:30 a.m., which for some young people and traditionally in our program, they haven't showed up consistently for anything. So that's the
And that comes back to the building the trust. We're here to
absolutely,
help you, but it's
absolutely,
a two-way street.
absolutely. And on average, they're hired and fired through our transitional employment program 7 times before it works.
Wow.
And it takes 4 write-ups in order for them to be terminated. And then we just go through the process of, okay, let's sit down, let's work on your SMART goals. What happened in order for you to be terminated? What can we do differently? And we apply the CBT at that time. So it's a very hands-on approach. But they show up for 7:30. They meet with a crew supervisor. They circle up in the beginning of the day. They talk about a skill of the day, which is one of our CBT skills. Act on your values. We're going to be present today. We're going to move it today. Any of those things that to try to get the guys and the young ladies motivated. And then from there, you do a full work day. It may be landscaping. It may be working with Springfield Park and Recs. Shit could be DPW, whatever the case may be. But throughout that day, they're working for 6.5 hours.
Wow.
And then they come back and they do some form of programming, and we have some food for them on site.
And after the 80 days, then what? Do you help them transition to the workforce, or
Mm-hmm.
do you say, okay, now the responsibility is on you? So you make them, sort of be the adults. Like, okay, we can't hold your hand the whole way. You have to do some work on your own.
So we help them with those pathways. We have partnerships with Mass Hire Holyoke, Mass Hire Springfield, where we'll help them with resume building, mock interviews. We have our own employment specialist, and we just use again all those resources to try to get them employed with outside employment. They have to first own it though. Like where do you envision yourself working at this point? What is it that you want to do? Is
Okay,
this a
start with their
career?
interests.
Right. Is this a career? Is this a job? Things are ever changing. So um, we just try to get them as comfortable as possible, feeling confident to go for the job or the career that they choose.
So do you also work with the employer side of it too, to say, hey, this is what we're doing here in this organization, but it comes back to those partnerships. We need
Absolutely.
employer partners in the community to help these kids on the right path.
And that's been the blessing for us, has been the
Good.
buy-in by the employment partners. The understanding of, okay, maybe we're going to be a little bit more Corey friendly. We're going to give this young person an opportunity to, change their lives. And I can honestly say we've had help from so many different partners. Bay State
Fantastic.
Behavioral Health Network, BHN has been a huge one, and just different organizations that have come to the table and supported us at job fairs on sites and things like that, and gave the young people opportunities.
What are some of the stories that or the examples of kids that you've worked with that are maybe some of success stories?
So I can give you one in particular. He actually works for ROCA right now.
Good.
He was one of my originals in the Each program, which I spoke about earlier, and he was a young man who went through that, had a rough time through that program. Was terminated a bunch of time in transitional employment. Very resistant to the program overall, but one day it just clicked. He definitely started to buy into our CBT, started to buy into our TEP program, and he did very well for himself.
Do
Uh,
you see, and I hear this through the medical community, that the human brain isn't fully developed till you're 25. So
mhm.
you're dealing with those individuals younger than 25. So are you seeing that, to that point where it just sort of clicked that some of these kids, once they mature to a certain level, all of a sudden they realize, wait, that's really not the right path for me.
Absolutely, and that's why we see it as a marathon, and we're just being patient, and we take a very relentless approach. We don't give up on a young person, even if early on we know there's pre-contemplation, and then something we call relapse,
Right.
where they become resistant to the program, whether it's due to staff turnover or just different things like that. We never give up on. We keep showing up.
Now, you talked a little bit earlier about why you made the move from the corrections side to the ROCA side, two of three individuals who helped you out. Tell me a little bit more about them. What did they say to convince you to make that move? Because you had a pretty nice job
Yeah,
in the corrections world.
for me, it was just the relatability. It was the
Of what you were
relatability
doing already on a day-to-day basis. And
of being born and raised in Springfield,
okay.
and kind of the reminder of some of those sacrifices that families have to make on a daily, and also being knowing that I'm a resource. Um, and corrections, policies, procedures, you can only
Right.
go so far. You can only help someone to a certain extent without crossing certain lines, right? You're not going to give out your personal info and things like that. But I saw it as an opportunity to be truly be able to help people, to be a part of the change. And those three in particular, I saw so many ways of myself in that. And I'm
Wow.
like, if I could give a message back to my younger self, this is my opportunity right here, and just build a team around them around me of like-minded people that see that as the same way.
That is amazing. All right, folks, we need to take our second break. We'll be right back after this.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry. This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Welcome back to today's edition of In Focus. I am very fortunate to be joined here in the 22 News Plus studio with Solomon Baymon. He is the director of ROCA Western Massachusetts, and we're talking today about the great work that his organization does in taking at-risk students and young adults in our communities and getting them on the right path. Solomon, when we left just before the last break, we talked about the individuals who helped you make the decision of leaving the corrections world to come be the director of ROCA. But two of those individuals, unfortunately, one has passed away and one has been incarcerated again. Tell me about that. That had to have been emotionally difficult for you because they're the ones who helped you make the move.
It's interesting using the word emotionally. That was my reminder that I did have emotions. Um, for a while in corrections, you just it's
You get
very
that thick skin. Yeah.
absolutely and repetitive, and you definitely have that thick skin. But when a young man passed away, that broke me.
And
And
how
then
old was he?
23,
23.
yeah, that broke me. So that happening, and then the next young man being uh, arrested and incarcerated for murder. That also just made this
Now,
work
those two crimes weren't connected, were they?
unrelated.
Okay.
But it
Because that
just,
would have been
oh yeah,
even worse.
yeah, it just it made the work more intentional for me. And it was just actually it just showed me up front that you're not gonna have 100% success rate,
Right.
and everyone's not gonna have that great or that perfect storytelling ending, and there's gonna be wins and losses. But every day that I can show up and my team can show up for the young people and give it another opportunity, and you know, for me, seeing these young people come through the door, that's a win for us.
Right. Building that trust, as you said
Absolutely.
earlier, once they walk through the door, the responsibility's on them. But
Absolutely.
that certainly sounds like a win.
Definitely a win. Because we know the other side of it, unfortunately. And we've seen it over the years, speaking about those two young individuals, but we've had more that have been murdered, that have overdosed and things like that. That is constant reminders we got more work to do.
So you grew up in Springfield.
Yeah.
So you're looking back on your, teenage years, were you, I don't even know the way to describe it. Like, did you have friends who were going down odd, paths that weren't the right thing? And then, but you chose a good path. So how
Absolutely.
do you have, friends go one way and you go the other way?
I had sports. I had sports. I was a pretty good football player, which ended up paying for my college.
Okay.
So I had that to hold on to, but I can also see how someone can slip into those paths.
Right.
I also had a daughter young, so I had a daughter senior year of high school. So those challenges of if you
You've
don't
got to
have
be a
the
parent. You
sports,
got to show up for that
absolutely,
child.
yeah, if you don't have the sports or something, the motivation or the support to keep moving forward by any means necessary, I can see how in ways an individual would try to figure out how to provide.
So you and your friends, you go your different paths. I hate to ask the question, but some of those friends who went down a bad route, did you end up coming across them later in life as, maybe they were incarcerated individuals, or maybe they're helping you now because they went down the path and now have decided, they've matured as we talked about earlier. Now they need to give back.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have come across them and judgment free, still there to support them. But I'm actually happy that I've come across them because in this version of me, right? The version of me that is now at ROCA that is here to help and provide, different pathways for individuals. But more interesting, I've come across the children in my program,
Okay.
which is even more interesting.
Yeah.
And makes it even more intentional for me to know a friend of mine's child is now high
And that
risk.
has to be a difficult discussion between you and your friend about their child.
Yes and no. I think the trust for me makes it easier for them to have that open conversation
Good.
because they know that I'm coming from, a caring and very intentional place, which I appreciate. I appreciate every individual who allows me to be a part of that change in a positive way.
And any way you can keep a kid out of our local jail system has to be a win for you and everyone in your organization.
Absolutely, and also even with mentioning um, our local jails. I mean, Sheriff Cochi allows our staff to go behind the walls 3 times a week to provide programming to youth in the Magic Pod, which is that 18 to 25-year-old unit. So we have that wraparound support, and just being able to go behind the walls and set them up for successful reintegration goes a long way also.
So that partnership with you and the sheriff's department is really crucial because it gets you the ability to start to build that trust because those incarcerated individuals will be coming out soon and sort of puts in their brain, come see us the moment you walk out.
Absolutely. Reentry starts, in my opinion, once a young person is detained, right, or anyone's detained, right? Like that moment changes someone's life, whether they go to jail or not. Once they're placed in handcuffs, that's going to change their life to some capacity. So being able to in reach, go behind the walls and set them up, work on smart goals. What does your housing look like? Do you have insurance? Do you have this? Do you have that? Do you have SNAP benefits? And be able to really set them up, and then upon their release, allow them to work in our transitional employment program. So it's almost like they don't miss a beat.
They go from one item right to the next, and that next item is training them to be a citizen of our community.
Absolutely, and through there, it's like wraparound care. So we have um, partnerships with Elijah's House for housing. We have partnerships with ADMA, African Diaspora Mental Health
Mhm.
Association, and CSO, where they're working on their mental health. So it's just like a wraparound. So if they're
Wow.
working, they're getting housing, and then we're helping them on the mental health side.
If there are parents out there or even young individuals who may be watching this and either they need the help or they want to help you, how can they do that?
Just come by. Come by one of our sites. We're located in Springfield, 29 School Street, and in Holyoke, 346 Race Street. Come by. Any one of our staff can help anyone out and get a referral started or just offer some type of resource. Even if the young person is out of our age range, we'll be able to point them in the right direction.
So you mentioned a few times Holyoke, Chicopee, Springfield. Are those the only communities that you're working with individuals, or will you accept an individual from anywhere?
We're mainly Western Mass, but we have built a strong relationship actually with Vermont,
Oh, really?
um, where we're helping out. When a young person will get referred, they may be from Western Mass, but they're getting
Right.
referred from Vermont back to us.
So you're working like in the Northampton or Greenfield communities, like Franklin and Hampshire County as well?
Absolutely, yeah. We also do some reentry work out there also.
Wow, what a challenge you folks must have. And the last question I have to ask you is, how big is your staff? I mean, and on one hand, I want to think, it's 60, 70 people, but I'm sure it's nowhere close.
It's a strong 22 right now.
Okay.
Strong 22. We used to be much bigger, but we've lost some funding, some federal funding, over this last year. We had to downsize in position, so we're doing more with less. But it's I'll
Right.
tell you, it's a strong 22.
Well, I have to tell you, Solomon, you guys, your entire organization are doing great work in our community. I want to thank you so very much for sharing the story, your personal story, and the story of the organization with me. Best of luck to you.
I appreciate you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.